can heal this home.
Well, here we are at the end of the Love Is series. This is the final session, but I think it's also the session that I think is the most important. Because throughout this series, you might have had a niggling feeling that love is just not the way to go. I mean, you could be listening about love being patient and kind and not being arrogant, rude, or irritable, and you might say, that is just a terrible way, that love loses in the end, that the only way to live life is to protect yourself and live for yourself. And look, you might be very, very justified to have that view. But what happens when Paul writes what love is, he goes out of his way to describe characteristics of God, and then he ends the whole passage with love never fails. He began it by saying, let me tell you about a more excellent way. And then he ends it with love never fails. And I think he has in view that lots and lots of other things will end up failing. The need for a lot of things will end up finishing or ending. Paul, in that passage, he compares it to prophecies that come to an end. He compares it to speaking in tongues, which may not be needed anymore. There's going to come a time when all the cares of our world and all the cares of things is not going to matter. The fact that you've won that promotion, or that you've won that new car that you're driving, the new toy that you've got, at the end that's going to fail you. And what Paul says is love never fails. So we're going to look at this passage in Romans 8, 38 to 39. It goes a bit like this. For I am sure that neither death, nor life, nor angels, nor rulers, nor things present, nor things to come, nor powers, nor height, nor depth, nor anything else in all creation will be able to separate us from the love of God in Jesus Christ our Lord. Now this can mean quite a lot of things, but one of the things it means is that love is the final way. Love stays on in heaven for eternity. It becomes the way of things. And so what we have certainly noticed, even in Jesus Christ himself, is that he lived the kind of life where he showed love, and while everybody thought he lost, which is basically why we did the series on the cross. The cross was the ultimate symbol of failure. If you were hanging on the cross and dying and bleeding to death, pretty much the person who put you up on the cross won and you lost. But Jesus was able to take the cross and make it the ultimate symbol of victory, and to show that his way wins in the end. Now, when you look at today's passage of love bears all things, believes all things, hopes all things, and endures all things, that's probably the one that everybody thinks is the most ridiculous. What do you mean, believe all things? What do you mean, hope for all things? Surely not everything is believable. Surely not everything that you hope for is going to come to pass. And so I just want to be very clear that being completely gullible and being kind of idiotic about everything is not on view. One theologian puts it this way, that love gives the benefit of the doubt. So if I could just maybe explain how that works. Whenever you encounter a situation, or maybe it's a situation with your loved one or a family member, you never have all the facts. You don't know the background, you don't know the context. You might have some idea, and you might think, yep, I know why my husband is late back from work and he didn't call me. You might even be correct in that reason. But there's always going to be some element of something you don't know. So if somebody's late, you're going to fill up. Sociologists say that we then fill up those gaps with our pre-expectations. So if somebody's late, you're going to fill it up with your best guess of why he's late. And if you're going to make a guess, you can choose one way or the other. Now, bear in mind, you don't have the information for this. The things that you have information on, great. But there's always going to be a category that you don't know. And in the area of things that you don't know, you could either think the worst or you can think the best. In a book by Marcus Buckingham, he says he did a study that the most significant thing about happily married couples is that in situations where they don't know something about their spouse, they think the best. And then what inevitably happens is after you've given them the benefit of the doubt, they try to live up to their spouse who thinks the best of them. I think that's really what's on view here. That Jesus Christ, when he looks at us, all the evidence, I'll tell you now, all the evidence looks like we're sinners. We're not worth it. We can't save ourselves, right? Yet there's something that is not known. What's not known by us is, could we turn our whole life around? If Jesus were to come and remove the shackle of sin, what could we become? I started life not as a pastor. I worked in the corporate sector just to make money for myself, I guess. There was a lot of unknown. And Jesus came into my life and said, in the area of the unknown, let's hope for all things. Let's believe. Let's bear. Let's endure. And so Jesus, I think, is the example for us to say, in a situation where you don't know what could happen, you believe the best. You hope for the best. One preacher says it this way: if you can, find the best possible reason, given the circumstances, for the behavior, and then hope for the best. So let's say your husband is late from work and he hasn't called. Instead of filling your mind with all kinds of things that might not be the case, until you know for sure, come up with the best possible, under the circumstances reason, and give him the benefit of the doubt. So that when he walks in, you haven't done the 2 hours of negative build-up, and then as soon as he walks in, bam, you unleash. Instead, love has given him the benefit of the doubt, and he's walked in and you're asking the question in a loving way. You're finding out what's happening. You're not being naive about what's going on, or you're not, like, at the end of the day, you still have to find out the truth. What we're talking about, these things that we don't know about. Can I put it to you that in your life, you have things you don't know about. You don't know what is going to happen to you next year. You don't know what's going to happen to you tomorrow, what God has for your life, what plans He has. And you have maybe self-censored and you've said, I can't do that. I'm never going to be anybody good. But God has showed you love, and He has believed in you. He's hope in you. He's endured and He's bared all for you. And His love for you, in the end, it will never fail. So can I encourage you to trust in God and trust in His love and have a really good debate. And I hope that your home group really challenges. Is love the way to go, or is there a more excellent way? Is there a more excellent way than love? Well, maybe there is. Why don't you talk about it in your home group? Because this will be the wrap-up of the series. Paul certainly puts it. The Bible certainly says, love never fails. It is the more excellent way, and it embodies Christ, and it embodies all that Christianity is about. God bless.